The earthquake and aftershocks that rocked Mexico City in 1985 were a major disaster. Hundreds of buildings were totally destroyed. Thousands of people killed. And hundreds more trapped.
The wall fell on top of me. I tried to protect myself, and a huge block came toward me. I tried to get out in 20 ways, but it was impossible. The only thing I saw was a horrible darkness. It took 26 hours for the rescuers to find me. Those hours seemed an eternity.
For rescue workers, the challenge that faced them was daunting.
I personally never imagined that I would see or experience anything that I saw or experienced in Mexico City. And as I looked around in every direction, all I saw was gigantic buildings and a heap of rubble.
Doug Copp saw these scenes of devastation on television.
Small hammer, you can break that away and...
He rushed to Mexico City to volunteer in the rescue efforts. He's been working disasters around the world ever since.
One Doug Copp went to Mexico and a completely different person left. I dropped everything I planned to do with my life and completely changed course.
Despite the dedication of people like Copp, many rescuers in Mexico paid a high price for
rescue
their help.
operations.
Because up until the Mexico City earthquake, no international team really went anywhere to get any experience.
191 survivors were pulled from the rubble. As many as 100 rescuers were killed.
We learned a lot from that particular event. In fact, it was the Mexico City earthquake that got us to refine the development of an urban search and rescue response system.
Collapsing beams that fell on top of his truck created a void space that saved his life.
Anybody in here?
It's what rescuers look for after an earthquake.
When I search a building and I crawl through a building, I crawl through space. And if somebody was in that space, they wouldn't be hurt. Voids are found next to large, bulky objects. The bigger the object, the stronger the object, the less it compacts, the bigger the space is going to be.
When the concrete falls or the material falls down, it tends to fall up against these items. The piece of concrete will come down and be bent over like this, and under here will be a survivable space, what we call a void space.
But finding these spaces can also be dangerous. In a disaster, the call to duty can be a dangerous one. For those who answer, there is one powerful reward: knowing they've helped a fellow human being.
I know that there's someone that needs my help, and if my family was in a situation like that, I think that the people would do the same for me.
Get in the back of the cab, shoulders forward.
I found out that every single experience in my entire life could be brought to bear to make me more successful at saving lives. I knew why I was put on this earth.
The earth can shake anywhere, anytime. Where will rescuers be called next? Out of the destruction comes new understanding about how to live with nature. And from the pain and suffering of a disaster comes the compassion that is a part of man's nature.
People come out of the woodwork. Doesn't matter whether he's a ditch digger or a barber. He'll come out and roll his sleeves up and go to work, and you come back 2 days later, he hasn't stopped.
3/4 of the rescues that took place in the earthquake in Kobe were done by volunteers.
A special Inside Edition. Your first look inside the darkest place on Earth, deep in the wreckage on hands and knees.
Hello!
Crawling through hell, searching for someone alive.
Keep pounding!
A special Inside Edition. Attack on America. So proudly we hail.
Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us. Though Americans are moving along, none of us has left behind those horrible images of buildings burning on Tuesday. But what is it like beneath the rubble, where it is possible, though unlikely, that some survivors might remain? Les Trent on one of the rescue workers toiling beneath the wreckage who shot some astonishing exclusive video below ground zero.
I'm in the ramp, going down to the parking garage. We're in quite deep.
These are the first pictures of search crews underneath the World Trade Center desperately looking for survivors.
Going down here.
For the last few days, we've gotten used to seeing the devastation and destruction from above. But rescue worker Doug Copp got below the World Trade Center where victims could still be trapped. For 16 years, Copp and his American rescue team have traveled to disaster sites all over the world.
I work for the victim. It is my duty and my responsibility to do every single thing I can possibly do to rescue them, to get them out of that.
Copp says surviving a building collapse is possible, even one as devastating as the World Trade Center. That's because when structures fall, spacious air pockets called voids are created where people can survive for days.
If there's people in those voids down there, and I'm allowed to have my team members here to go do it, we will be saving them.
His first night at the World Trade Center, Copp was fortunate to find a hole in the rubble that led to a large underground void that Copp believes was once a huge underground parking lot. It is now unrecognizable, a pitch-dark maze of twisted pipes and concrete.
There's another void up there.
For 20 minutes, Copp and a crew member, along with 2 police officers, searched for any sign of life.
Hello!
Copp was encouraged when he thought he heard some banging.
It's right up in there. Keep pounding. So I checked the pipes and said, hello, are you in there? And the sound goes down through the pipes. If the pipes go far enough inside, they'll hear me. If you're trying to signal us, hit 3 large hits. If you're trapped inside pitch black dark, buried alive, and if you hear someone saying, anybody in there, you better believe, okay, you're going to be responding very loudly, yes, I'm here.
Unfortunately, the noise they heard was most likely from crew workers above. But Copp is not giving up.
I'm expecting that people can survive inside there for 12 days without food and water.
Copp says he's been to over 100 disaster sites and believes you have a chance of surviving if you know what to do. If you can't escape the building, position yourself next to but not under a large, sturdy object. This could create a void.
If you get under something that's crushed, you're crushed. If you're in a void, you don't get crushed. You survive.
Don't get in an elevator.
The rails for the elevator will break and snap. The bolts will come out before the rest of the building falls down or is damaged.
Know all exits and stairways that can be used as an escape route and evacuate immediately if possible. Many of the survivors at the World Trade Center were people who knew the way out.
If the buildings wouldn't have been evacuated, how many tens of thousands of more people would have died?
And carry a cell phone on you at all times.
The cell phone thing was great because we could still communicate. That meant we could be more effective. That meant we could save more lives.
They would take me right over there.
And as long as there are possible survivors at the World Trade Center, Doug Copp will be digging, working to find them wherever they may be.
On Sunday, rescue teams got to the lowest level beneath the towers to the New Jersey commuter train station about 80 feet